I'm being kept awake. I'm restless. And I experience this kind of restlessness and sleeplessness often when I'm creatively inspired, when I'm awakened, when I'm self-aware. I think when I'm self-aware, when I trigger some kind of deeper self-awareness, it also awakens an appetite for self-understanding. And I think it just comes to the forefront when I'm trying to sleep. And I need to look into this. I need to make a note to look into alpha waves and beta waves when it comes to waking conscious brain activity versus resting and sleeping brain activity. Because there might be some terminologies and theories out there that coincide with the theories that I'm touching upon now. A theory that's starting to surface is that maybe what's causing sleeplessness and restlessness is this awakened, usually dormant level of self-awareness. As a form of my consciousness that maybe is used to being subconscious and dormant. And so it's not as active. But then it's suddenly activated and it prevents me from sleeping because it seeks to understand itself. I seek to understand myself. I think in basic terms, what I experience when I'm trying to sleep and I'm restless is a common theme is I'm just constantly feeling like I'm seeking something. And it's seeking information and discovery of myself. And so it's trying to find some base form of connection. And a base form of connection is love and intimacy and social bond and sex. That's how we connect to each other, and that's how we feel more whole. We connect to each other, and so we are able to feel like we understand ourselves more, that we belong more. It's strange, but I find myself more often than not when I am somewhat self-aware and awakened, and I'm trying to sleep, is I get turned on. I get physically turned on, aroused. And I feel that it's not necessarily straightforward as me thinking about sex. It's not. I'm aroused because I feel like my body is trying to connect, and it's trying to use arousal as a form of manifesting connection to better understand oneself, itself, myself. So if that theory is correct, well, it's worth exploring, isn't it? But this is the first time I've put that kind of line of thought together. And maybe that explains the levels of sexual energy and lust and arousal. I think maybe it explains on a personal level why some people are more inclined to feel aroused and to feel driven to connect sexually to themselves and to other people. It's because it might explain that it's a way of our self-awareness. I don't know what to call it right now. It's like an awakened level of self-awareness that wants to be more self-aware, wants to learn more about itself. And it uses the bond of sexual chemistry and arousal and intimacy to try and achieve that, to try and better understand itself. So the people who might live their lives going from partner to partner, trying to fill a void, trying to fulfill some kind of need, some kind of craving, maybe it's not really got anything to do with sex directly. What if the main goal is from a source of this kind of awakened self-awareness where, it wants to learn more about itself through bonds and a strong impulse that it can control, that it can tweak, is our sex drive and our levels of arousal. Because maybe that's the only thing that is like a physical indicator, a physical kind of manifestation that it can control within our bodies to try and help us seek further connection with ourselves through other people, potentially other people. It's hard to describe. I'm often trying to sleep and finding my body physically aroused, and it's a craving, but I don't feel like it's directly for intercourse or sex. It's not because I'm thinking about some person directly, specifically. It feels like it's coming from an unrecognized craving for discovery and connection. And I think it's just, this dormant self-awareness that's using parts of my body, mechanisms within my physical body to try and indicate that it has a need. It has a yearning to discover, to bond, to understand. It might explain why, if I was to relieve myself in an intimate way, in a sexual way, take matters into my own hands, so to speak, it more often than not in these situations doesn't actually alleviate that yearning. So if the theory is true and it's not connected to sexual desire linked to another individual or just plain being horny, if it's not linked to actually sex, then it's worth paying attention to better understand. Because ultimately, if I want to take control over my sleep, I need to understand what's causing this restlessness. Because similar to the story of Genie by Elizabeth Gilbert on her TED Talk, where she identifies this theory, this entity of creativity taking the form of a genie, a third-party little creature, an entity that comes to visit you and in moments that's not convenient most of the time, and in weird fashions. Ultimately, you as a vessel need to sleep, and you need to work, and you need to show up and do your part. We're still limited to this body that needs good quality rest. And although it's great to have a level of self-awareness that wants to seek to understand itself better, to grow, to develop, to mature, to level up, that's great. But that kind of journey can't be 24/7, because we still need to rest. So Elizabeth Gilbert summarizes at the end, after seeing the genie as this third-party entity, the characterization of creative inspiration. It's a matter of forming a relationship with this third-party entity and forming an understanding to be fair and acknowledging that there are going to be inopportune moments where it tries to take control and guide your consciousness to act, to wake up and to connect and to better understand. But hey, we're trying to sleep right now, you know? So we need to develop some kind of communication and agreement that there's a time and a place to explore, to uncover. We've done a great deal during the day, but we need to let go at night. We need to put down our tools at night. We need to wind down. We need to condition our body to say, it's time for sleep. It's time to shut down. We've done a good day's job. Nothing more required. Let's just switch off, shut down, get a good night's rest, power down, and then we'll pick it up where we left off in the morning. And if we have a good working relationship with our physical body's needs to sleep, and acknowledging that we do have an inner desire to seek bonds and self-understanding, but we can't do that 24/7. So maybe acknowledging it as in a similar way to Jeannie might be helpful. Having conversations out loud like this, well, not like this. This is a documentation of a theory, but maybe this is where it starts. I recognize it as an entity within me, as an element, as a mechanism, just like with all the other theories that I've been ruminating over. Yeah. It's not fair, and it's not going to do me any favors to try and understand myself when I'm trying to sleep. Find another way, please.